Our first information item is one that we're all super excited about seeing tonight, and that is the third grade reading, just an update from Dr. Swift and her team about the work they're doing given this new legislation. This is year one of this new legislation. Dr. Swift.
Thank you, trustees and community. We have a document, a guiding document. It's not fancy, but Ms. Osensky, Ms. Houghton will bring that up so that you can kind of follow along. You also have a copy of it in your yellow folder, trustees, if that's helpful for you, and it should be attached on our documents as well this evening. We last updated on this. We've updated regularly, but our last board update in public session was last May. And so since that time, we've done quite a bit of work. And I just want to thank our teachers and our instructional leaders and Ms. Leanne Dickinson-Kelly for all of their work to really put together a plan. By way of introduction, Trustee Manley said it perfectly. Our third grade reading plan is about providing more support. It will not now nor ever be about retaining students. So we just want to make sure that that is the leading message that goes out. And just coming off of today's session at University of Michigan, really keeping in our minds that the time to think about early literacy is not in third grade. It's many years prior to that time. So we're thinking about 0 to 3. We start with early on programming, and we're thinking about young fives and kinder and first as really our first line of defense on ensuring literacy for every child. We will be leveraging the third grade reading legislation as an opportunity to improve the way we approach early literacy in the district. So these are not things that the state is telling us necessarily that we have to do. Certainly they're in the legislation, but we've devised this and customized this to be about what we're doing. So the current steps are about implementing an overall district system, and we used P words to try to make that plan clear. So the first one is about people. We're really working on a highly skilled team and developing that team across our district. So trustees, you know that prior we had 11 reading intervention teachers. Those job descriptions are adjusting really to represent more of an in-depth literacy expert with particular certifications, and we've added to that team. So currently we have 14 of those. They are distributed according to need. So the distribution ranges from a 0.25 at just 1 or 2 or 3 of our schools, all the way to a 1.5 FTE at each school, and it's based on how many children are going to need those additional services. The literacy expert teacher will not only service groups of students, small groups of students delivering interventions, but just as importantly, they'll be supporting our classroom teachers to ensure that they have the pedagogy, that they are learning the new programming, and that they understand really when to call in help and how to deliver very specific interventions to students who have red flags because they're having some difficulty with learning to read. A second part of this expertise with our people is this idea of really knowing when a student presents with dyslexic tendency that we will have a plan in place. So we're partnering currently with 2 of the preeminent agencies in the state, the Eaton Academy in Birmingham, and then the Literacy, Language, and Learning Institute right here in Ann Arbor. And they are really helping us to devise a plan and a flow chart that works well for when that red flag is raised on dyslexia. We will be posting and hiring for a dyslexia specialist that will support teachers. Trustees, you remember a couple of years ago, Dr. Brown, I believe it was about 2 to 3 years ago, we did this same kind of approach with an autism specialist. And it was at the point where our teachers were asking for extra help, our principals needed extra support and expertise around a particular challenge. We want to, and that has worked very well, to really provide real-time support right in with the student, with the teacher, with the principal, with the parent, to ensure that we're meeting those needs and that we have a plan in place. So over the coming weeks, these consults that we're doing, they're helping us to draft the job description and to get that laid out. We'll be looking to hire a specialist teacher that will be able to give us that level of expertise. We do see that model in a couple of district plans in the country, one in Arlington, Virginia, another one in Houston, Texas, where they've been tremendously successful in being able to develop support plans right around those students that are showing that very unique set of challenges around reading. The second area is process. A lot in our process has changed. First thing is that over the first 30 days of school, we will be screening every child. And trustees, we think of this just like you do the vision screening, the hearing screening. There will be screening for children to ensure that there's not a red flag there around reading development. So that will begin with the NWEA process. I always say the most reliable screener I've ever seen are the watchful eyes of a master teacher who's watching that child and observing right where there might be gaps in developing those reading competencies. So that process begins right at the start of the school year. The law requires us to complete the screening within 30 days. I'm happy to say that we're doing that. We will be using NWEA. We know that that tool is not as explicit as we would like. So there are other assessments and checks and ways of checking in on students. And some of those materials we already purchased, trustees, and others will be purchasing, bringing to you this evening for purchase, so that we're sure to be able not just to know that there's a reading issue. Trustees, I would submit that we've always known there was a reading issue. We just didn't always know which of the 5 fundamental components of reading were involved with the issue. So now we'll be digging down deep to see if it is comprehension, if it's phonemes, if it's phonemic awareness, if it's vocabulary, what is the issue? And the difference in this process is we'll be treating explicitly those issues that come up for each individual student. So trustees, you notice a shift there. It isn't a whole treatment of the class, but really treating those particular students in a small group intervention, exactly what they need to close that reading gap and move forward. So we're really excited about some shifts in our process. The next piece is really around pedagogy, how we teach and learn. So the literacy interventions will occur if, depending on where the students show during their screening and assessment process, it could happen that there are 3 or 4 or 5 students within a single classroom that have a similar need. The classroom teacher might help with that. The literacy expert might push in with that. It may be in a particular school that 3 or 4 students go across the grade level. So that literacy expert might be pulling a group together from across the grade level to give them a particular intervention. So the shifts occurring really are about teaching to those 5 literacy elements when the red flag is raised. And there they are right under pedagogy, trustees, vocabulary, phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, and comprehension. And trustees, I would say that having certificated experts and putting them directly on the specific issue is really the secret sauce, if you will, of this entire plan. Because in the past, we wanted to do that sort of treatment, but we often didn't have the team in place to do so, the structures in place, and we often didn't have the correct materials to really get to that level of need. So students will be grouped not by text level, as they might have been in the past, but by their areas of need, by their particular areas. So we're really excited about that shift in the pedagogy. The teachers and literacy experts will need particular tools, and trustees, you're going to see that as Trustee Mitchell shared, our Finance Committee reviewed those. You're going to see particular tools that will be used with only particular students. They aren't used across the grade levels, but they include things like the Bob books that really get at phonemes and phonics, the LIPS, the Linda Mood Bell materials, and a tech program called Lexia, which can also be applied for students at home. The fourth P is about the specific instruction, and I think I've really covered that one, is really about ensuring that we have experts on our team. These folks are continuing to get higher levels of training. They come back and share that with classroom teachers. But what I am excited about is that the classroom teachers have support. It is really a flaw in a third grade reading plan to expect a classroom teacher with 24 to 28 students to be able to attend to all of those specific needs. So we're very excited that we've developed a program where the classroom teacher is going to get support, and also where there'll be groups pulling in and out of the classroom, and we're not expecting everything to occur with that grade level classroom teacher. It's just an unrealistic expectation in order to do this work right. The last P, and I loved that the planning committee really talked to me about this one, really making sure that our parents have appropriate and repeated communication. Number one, to relieve any concerns they have that retention will be a cornerstone of our district program. It will not. But that our program will be focused on additional supports for every child that has a gap in their literacy development. So we have already communicated, we've confirmed, Ms. Linden has worked with the team, and the principals have used a similar presentation, and that has occurred in every elementary school. So folks are generally aware of this third grade reading plan. The second thing that is about to happen, and I love that planning sent us back to redraft a whole section of the plan that really had a lot of the state information in it. So we're redrafting that now, getting that ready to go. But we will be communicating with every single parent, and that will occur, and I don't see it there, but it's by the end of November. So Thanksgiving time is by that time. Every parent of a child who needs the individual reading plan will have individual contact. And that reading plan is developed with the team and with the parent, and it actually has a home component on it, so that we're able to share materials with the home, to give the parent the log on, to help them with extra places online that they can go, or even materials that they can use in their home to support the child and to know what to do to support them in making progress. Our next steps include Trustees, I'll be speaking with you individually, and we'll be continuing to work. We see some opportunities at the Westerman Preschool that we believe we need to really take advantage of. Miss Leanne Dickinson Kelly have been working over there and coordinating with Dr. Menzel. I was with him today on the panel, really around tightening up our preschool with some improved curricula opportunities. We will make this path by walking together, trustees. So this is a work in progress, but we have anchored to these 5 P's, and we will continue to improve our work as we go. So I know that was rather lengthy, trustees, but we wanted to share with you all and with our community that we do have a plan in place, and yet we know that this is year 1, and every year we're going to get better at this so that our students get the help they need as quickly as possible, so that our parents are supported, so that our teachers have exactly what they need to do the work. We do have a vision of a day and a time where a child's ability to read will not be connected to their zip code, their gender, their particular learning challenges, but that we have a system that is agile and will meet the need ahead of 3rd grade. And so we have a vision of a day and a time where that's all happening at a very young age, and students are supported all the way up, and we don't have a worry. And we know that they'll read when they're ready to read, so we're not going to have retention as a part of that vision. And so with that, trustees, I think we're ready for questions and comments and concerns. And I, of course, have my 2 best friends on this topic because they carry all, of course, the true expertise. And that is Miss Leanne Dickinson Kelly, Miss Dawn Linden, and Dr. Elaine Brown has also been engaged in these conversations when it applies to our special needs students as well. So we're ready.
I think the only thing I would add is that I would like to keep track of the amount of money we're spending on this, because it helps us when our legislators are passing new legislation and they don't fully fund these. These are called unfunded mandates. Mm-hmm. Districts are supposed to not be liable, actually, for unfunded mandates, and I think that this is one of them. I know there were some dollars allocated across the state. I think 75 million or something. We could probably spend that here if we hired everybody that we wanted to. But to cover the entire state, I know the dollars were very small, but I'd like to use this as a case study to our legislators about what it really takes to do this well, assuming we can figure that out. And I don't expect that we're going to get that 100% right year 1. My sense is we'll learn what's working, we'll learn what else we need, and in year 2, we may make some more adjustments based on what we learned. But I'd like to keep track of these things because it helps us as politicians articulate and fight and advocate for the kinds of things that we need help with. If they want to impose new legislation on K-12 entities, this helps us give us a specific example about what it actually costs to deliver these things. And so that would just be my ask, that you help us advocate for what schools actually need to do this work well.
We're keeping really close and I think very accurate records right now. So with Mr. Demetrius's help. So.
Thank you so much for this great update.
Thank you, trustees, for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you.